Well, it looks like Guns and Ammo are going based on the evidence of episode 3 of The Last of Us. It looks like Guns and Ammo are aiming themselves at an entirely new audience. Let's talk about it after the squall. Bonjour. Well, I didn't see that one coming. No, we don't go there. We don't go there. I've got to say, straight away, I'm going to say that I did think this was a beautiful episode of television storytelling. I really did. Certainly unexpected. And it's kind of put me in a weird glass box of emotion, really, because part of me is thinking, or was thinking, as this episode unravelled, that it doesn't belong here. But by the time you got to the end of the episode, there was so much of Frank and Bill's story that resonated with that kind of random, the random meeting. You know, they were thrown together. You know, he's in one of Bill's traps, and the way Joe and Ellie have met. That I can see why they've done it, and must admit, it's a very, very, well, an extremely grown-up adult approach to a genre that up until now, and I know I've said it before about I couldn't help but come into this series with expectations based on the best of Walking Dead. I would, coming into this, I've got the best episodes of Walking Dead, and their best episodes was some good TV. It was some very, very good TV. And episodes like this, they would have built up to this, the emotional payoff to it all across many episodes, maybe even series, to make the passing of characters resonate. These guys done it. In, well, within within 40 minutes, 45 minutes within the episode. Obviously, you had the bookends, and I don't know. I was just like, it's unexpected. It was properly out of left field. So at the beginning, what I did like, because obviously we can't talk about any action set pieces, but that little bit of gore at the beginning with Elliot and with the head zombie and cutting the throat. How slow they do it, but how nicely that imperceptible nod from whatever humanity the person had left. Just for a millisecond, unless it was just me, that imperceptible, almost imperceptible nod before she stabs him in the head. I just thought, oh, did you? Yeah. And obviously, unless I go through this episode minute by minute, which would probably take me 3 hours, they're setting up the basis of what, for me anyway, of why, apart from the obvious, because we see Joel's daughter die in the first episode, why should he be taking this girl across America and all the rest of it? But I tell you what, particularly that random, the random meeting of Frank and Bill, and I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it, and how beautifully it was done, and particularly the 3 minutes, because obviously it kind of unravels their time together, not their life story. It wasn't like that the beginning of Up, which I was thinking about when it was just put to music, when a man and a woman's entire life story from when they meet as a child, if you ever remember that Up, that's when Pixar were good, before Dismal got hold of it. And my son even picked up on that as well. And it was very, and this isn't a bad way, because that's one of the best setups of all time, Up, the movie. And because it's set to music. How can you tell the story of a couple's life, their entire life, from beginning to end, to music? But from the very, very beginning, those actors that play Bill and Frank, just top marks to them, to be fair. From the tear when they first meet and they're over the piano, and what girl did you sing this song to? And I knew that, and he goes, no, there was no girl. And he goes, I know. Now listen, I'm a heterosexual middle-aged white man. Everything. No, we don't know. I'm not going to go there. But when their relationship first kicked off, it is very jarring. I'm going to admit it, very jarring. But I've already said I found this episode a beautiful episode of TV. And from his tears, just the actors, how they're acting that, and how the writers unravelled their relationship. But what we've got to bear in mind by the end of this episode is that it's everything in that letter, or not everything in the letter, but Joel's motivations for wanting to keep hold of Ellie and take her. Tessa's already told him. It's all quiet. And even at the beginning of this episode, Ellie tells him, like, don't hate me, don't blame me. You was after a battery, like, you wanted to swap me for a car battery, so don't blame it all on me. And I thought that was nice as well, because it's bending Joel's character. I don't know how fleshed out he was in the game, but it's certainly bending his character into something that a mass audience can follow. And I didn't expect an episode like this, I've got to say. Didn't expect an episode like this. And I was thinking at the beginning, it's got no place in a genre TV series. But do you know what? By the end of this episode, all the notes, I literally started writing notes to do my review, and I started by the end of the episode, I'm crossing half of them out, because I'm going, no, this is jarring, no. But it really does make sense by the time you get to the end of this episode. From him shedding a tear at a random meeting and they're falling in love, to the strawberries scene. But just cinematography, everything's right with this series. For me, everything is right. Not just this episode, everything up to date now. Just even that poignant scene with the strawberries. And this episode is the little things we miss or didn't have. Like when Ellie's talking to Joe about being on an aeroplane. And Joe, I'm loving his characterisation in this, old Pedro. And he goes, I'm in the middle seat paying $12 for a sandwich. And that is our cynical view of budget air travel. But to Ellie, it's like, oh my God, did you ever go in one of them? And at the end of the episode, where she sits in the car, and she's going, this is like a spaceship to me. But even that tiny moment where she moves the mirror, she's getting the visor down and all that, and she's poking around everywhere, and she moves the mirror, but you can see Joel's face in the background. Still in character, still not wavering. And it is about the little things we take for granted and that we might miss. The fact how, for the two guys, how orgasmic it is that he swapped one of his little guns, only a little one, for the seeds, for the strawberries. And how sensational that is for them as they're eating them. Just thought it was so well done. And like I say, the 3-minute scene, like let's call it the wedding scene with the autumn leaves, which I know these are some of this is classic tropes. So it was, you know, the music in the background, the dry crackle of the autumn leaves, you know, slowly wheeling him in his wheelchair, but pieced together with like the overgrown, like where they first met, the pit, all the overgrown grass around the dried paint, his pallets of paint all dried, the brush there not washed, all that, you know, just the end of the line, and then exchanging the rings. And I tell you what, that was 3 minutes just of music, or either that or the sound department. Beautiful. I think they nailed it. And then from summing up their relationship, Joel and Ellie so far, you know, put your seatbelt on. I mean, I don't know how many times he told her to stay there or stand still or sit there. I don't know. But the letter, you know, that love can come from anywhere at any time. And obviously it mentions Tess in the letter, but they don't know that transfers. And I think I've already said this. I don't know if I've already said this in my reviews or I've said this in conversations with other people. But the creators of this series, I think, have been through grief, mourning, and missing a loved one. Because this has resonated for me from the first minute of this series. And it's dressed up in the genre, all the genre trappings I love. End of the world stuff, post-apocalypse, I love it. I'm on board. I've explained in my other two reviews. And then in that letter where Bill is saying, I used to hate the world. And up till now, that's what Joel is. Even right at the beginning, before the world burnt, he was a miserable old so-and-so. Because something had happened to him. Whether it was divorcing his daughter's mum or whatever it was, but something had hurt him before. But 3 episodes of this series, I've never played the game, but they've lobbed enough in here to make me think and be interested in everything, especially a gay survivalist in Middle America. Is it Middle America? I don't know. Perhaps my friends, perhaps Amber and Randy at The Right Advice can give me a geographical perspective on that. But I think it's Middle America, but I could be wrong. Sorry, everyone. But that isn't what I expected from the beginning, where you see the silhouette of him with the black and white, the CCTV outside, and he's going, not today. to go from that with a gas mask and the guns and racks of guns and the CCTVs to what transpired. Now that, to all the other idiots that just subvert expectations for and do it in a stupid way, that is what I call subverting my expectations. I've got to say, I wasn't ready for this week's episode. I don't know if any of that makes any sense now. And I even made 2 lots of notes, watched the episode twice, made double the amount of notes. But in and of itself is a springboard, is a believable springboard, thoughtful and well conceived springboard for the relationship I hope that Joel and Ellie are going to forge in their journey across them. Maybe they're thinking beyond, I don't know, because I haven't got, that's I keep saying I haven't played the games, and I don't know if one of them dies at the end of the first game or what, and the second game is different characters. I don't know. But if you're going to have two series of it, if this series is them two forging their bond, whether it's father-daughter, and I don't think it'll be that basic, which is what I thought it was going to be be fair, and I think I would have been happy with that. His real daughter dies at the beginning, and he's placed into this situation where he's got to get on with this girl that we don't really, that we don't really warm to straight away. but I've got to admit, the characterisation is really coming into its own. I've got to say, there are moments when she is so annoying, like walking into Bill and Frank's house, and instead of having any respect, it's like, oh wow, like ugh, like kind of thing, like as if they've just walked into a creepy. Which, to be fair, she's right. They're two creepy old men, so, or not creepy, but you know what I mean. Get like a little ghost haunted, or like a haunted house. But it's just enough without being annoyed. She's annoying within her own right as a character, how she should be. But then has endearing moments, like when she pauses when she's reading the letter, and she stops when she's reading. He goes, "Oh, you read it," and she pauses at Tess, and then she redeems herself again. So she's been annoying and then redeems herself. You know, how nice a moment was it when she's finding the gun in the drawer that we've seen Frank get the gun from in the Raiders scene, which was again so nicely done. You know, he's waking up. We see the booby traps that they've set up from the beginning, and that is storytelling 101. You can't have someone find a gun in the drawer. I mean, I think it was Aaron Sorkin that said you can't have a gun. You can't have the main character find a gun in the drawer to shoot the baddie with in the final scene unless you've shown the audience that the gun is there in the drawer. And little details like that are missing in so much modern entertainment now, that they've laid out all the groundwork when he's setting up, when he's in his pickup and going to the Home Depot and all that, or depot as they say over there. Such a lovely setup. So by the time the Raiders come, and you know it's coming, it's all been happy. Oh, we've had some strawberries, and now it's raining, and it's night time, and it's dark. And Joel, the first meeting with Joel and Tess that they have their little dinner party, and that was nicely done as well. That was such a great scene. That we know that it's the Raiders, because he said it. He said, "Better watch yourself. You know, you might not need nothing off me, but I'll tell you what, that fence is going to rust, and you need some whatever it was, adamantium, whatever, tungsten." Again, a beautiful setup. A couple of lines of dialogue. So when that Raiders scene comes, we've seen him putting the pipes in the ground. We don't quite know, do we? But then we see them all come to life. Brilliant scene. In the rain, Frank's waking up and Bill's already out there. You know he is. You know he is, because he's the survivalist. That's what he set his whole life up before the fall. Just nice, just nicely done. And like I say, he goes to the bureau, and that's the same gun that Eddie finds at the end of the episode. Just nice. So all in all, as a summary, I've got a feeling, and I haven't watched one single review yet, and this is late. This is a late one for me recording this, because I've had to collect my thoughts and make a decision, not whether I like it or hate it, but just make a decision on what I wanted to talk about, really. And it's a beautiful piece of storytelling for me. And sometimes genre storytelling can offer up stuff like this. It can be poignant, it can be heartfelt, it can be talking about someone's real life situation, and I still do maintain that someone has got a lot to say about it, because I can see it myself, because I've had the same. I think I've had the same experiences that some of these creators have had, in the way they're talking about love and loss and mourning and dealing with the loss. Because Joel isn't dealing with his losses at all. Not from his daughter's mother. And we can certainly see that he hasn't dealt with his daughter's loss, the way he beat up the guard to get out of Boston. And his brother. He mentions him at the end of this episode. Oh yeah, he's in Wyoming and he's one of the Fireflies, and you know, I know at the beginning of this series, but anyway, you know what I'm getting at. So yeah, so to sum up, I thought this was great, and it's up there with the best. And for me, this is high praise. It's up there with the best of those episodes of The Walking Dead that resonated. Those emotional episodes where someone would die, or they, you know, you'd get just those emotional storytelling episodes, and then you'd go back to the zombies next week. You just have a break, you just have a breather, and relax, and then realise what everything is. You know, everything else makes sense. You know, it's human with Walking Dead. It was humans on humans. I think with this series, it's got to be the focus on those two, our main two characters, and why he should be saving and not ditching one little girl, despite what she might have or have not. You know, and I think they've done a fantastic job so far. I really have. They haven't let me down, but I think there'll be a few people with a lot to say, particularly our friends across the Atlantic. But anyway, I will leave it there, and I will bid you all adios.